Hey guys, what's going on? It is Ash here coming at you today with a conversation I just had with Tait. He's a really bright guy and the host of SNH Podcast. Be sure to check out that podcast. It's really great, especially if you like audio content. So we talk about the update. You're seeing the Hounds, the Loons, and the Cannon right now, and we talk a little bit about the friendly challenge as well. So guys, sit back and enjoy our conversation. What's up, guys? I am here with Tait. You know him from Saturday Night High podcast. Tait, what's going on, man?
Not much, Ash. I'm glad to be on the YouTube video again. How's it going?
Yeah, is this your second or third time here? I'm losing count.
I don't know either. I think it's,
you don't write them down in your diary at night?
No, I don't look back on them every night, but I think it's the third.
Okay, well, we'll call it the third. So I'm going to have you on today to talk a little bit about the sneak peeks so far. I guess yesterday wasn't technically a sneak peek, but certainly, some big game-changing news in terms of friendly challenges. So we'll touch on that. But first, I actually didn't put out a video today because work interfered with my Clash life, my YouTubing life, and I wasn't able to talk about the sneak peek today. So I figured we can kind of go through that together. And I know that as a host of a podcast, you probably have a lot of opinions yourself. So let's hop right into it. The Cannon level 14. Lava Hound level 4, and Balloon level 7. Thoughts?
Okay. All right. So we'll start with the Cannon. Cannon, first of all, I thought the artwork looked pretty awesome. I love that kind of white base and a little floating mini thing. It goes definitely along with like the artwork they've been pushing out for this town hall overall. To me, it seems like, as I kind of speculated on some of my podcasts, is that they're trying to find a way to counter ground a little bit, particularly Valkyries and buff air, and that's everything that we're about to talk about does. So I think this was primarily a nerf to Valkyries, or in other words, a way to stop Valkyries a little bit. Is that how you saw it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you nailed it. Everything in this little sneak peek today is really anti-ground, pro-air, so I agree with you on the artwork, by the way. I love the, as much of the white they can get into this new artwork, I'm a big fan of. Like, I love that ivory, old school, ancient feel to it. So, and I know I said this on Twitter and I kind of got killed, but surprisingly, a lot of people agree with me too, is I want new walls and I want them to be that same white type wall. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah,
but
like white walls with like green ivy or something coming down would be pretty cool, I could see. But
yeah, don't you think it's time for new walls? I mean, for us maxed out players, or no?
I think in theory, yes, definitely. In the farming side of it, it's going to be a hassle. I know that, because walls are a ridiculous grind, and I'm sure it's going to be even. Obviously, of course, it's going to be even worse the next time around. But artwork wise, yes, I agree.
Yeah, just aesthetically, I want new walls. And to be honest with you, I'm a weird freak of nature where I like the grind. So, and plus, I have almost all maxed out walls anyway. And it's been like 2 years since they've introduced new walls. I mean, a lot of people think these ones are new, or you kind of mistakenly think, but they're just new art. They're not a new level. They used to be those pretty blue spectacles. But anyway, let's move off walls here. So yeah, it looks like the Lava Hound and the Balloon. How do you see that impacting Clan Wars?
Huge. So, I mean, of course, defense targeting troops like Golems, Hounds, Hogs, and Loons are the four primary ones. Well, they might be the only ones. And those are the ones that, heavy people are interested in really breaking down a base piece by piece, segment by segment care about. And so we already had the upgrade in the Hog, which people loved. And now we're getting the other two pieces of this, which would be the Hound and the Loon. Very exciting. It's going to be, I don't know what the numbers are. I'm really excited to see how they work out, particularly with the Grand Warden. I know these are Town Hall 11 exclusive upgrades, which is just kind of a bigger reason to get people to go up to 11. And I know that the aura of the Grand Warden synergizes really well with the hit point level of Hogs and Loons in particular, right around that 500 to 600. You get like the most bang for your buck. And so it's going to be awesome to see how they work out. Now, I was thinking, I was trying to think why so many people stopped using air attacks. And to me, it's because even though air attacks, I think, are the most like beautiful attack, they don't feel nearly as kind of random and hectic as a Valk attack does. When it's done right, it feels like this slow motion destruction of a base, but it's like beautiful to watch.
It's like an orchestra, a conductor,
I love it.
Yeah.
But there's also a huge chance. It's also one of those ones where it's going to be like a triple or a 1-star. It's like there's not as much of an in between. And so I think that might have been one of the reasons why a lot of people started going away from it, because the Valks had a much safer feel. Mm-hmm. You really felt like you were getting that 2-star. So I think hopefully if these guys are strong enough, it could maybe increase the chances of getting a 3-star enough that they kind of come back into viability. It'll be interesting to see, as like I said, how big the numbers are. Are we getting 2 extra pups? What the DPS is going to be, and also what hit point, what damage the Loons are. The Loons already did so much damage, but I know one of the major problems was for a while that you no longer could drop 2 Loons like on an Archer Tower and do it for the upper level ones because the drop damage and the 1 bomb damage wasn't enough. But if that goes up enough, you might be able to get back to using 2 Loons and kind of doing elements of the holo system that we used to see way back when. So it'll be really cool to see. What did you think of all the kind of air buffs at first?
I loved it. Air is absolutely non-existent. I mean, I guess with trophy pushing at the highest level, you're still seeing some air, but even a lot of those people have transitioned to the Valkatex too for the same reason that you just pointed out, because the Valkyries are so strong, and, I think that's going to change a little bit, and we'll get to that a little bit more in a second, but the Valkyries are so strong that you can pretty much just spam them and, luck into 2 stars most of the time, and if not, just 1 star, So I'm a big fan. I love air attacks. I think I consider myself an air attacker, even though I've had to transition because I've had no choice.
Yep.
But, I thought it was long overdue, not long overdue, but certainly overdue. And I'm excited, man. I'm really excited to get into those air hybrid attacks again. And I think I don't see any reason why there wouldn't be a reemergence of air attacks at Town Hall 11 because of this. My only question maybe is, I just wonder why it's Town Hall 11 and not Town Hall 10. I mean, I understand to a degree why it's Town Hall 11. You have to add the new content at the highest level. But at the same time, I mean, Town Hall 10 already has the huge disadvantage of not having the Grand Warden.
Yeah.
So I think it probably would have been better to give it to Town Hall 10, but, what do I know? I haven't tested it out yet, so.
Yeah. Personally, I would have liked to seen the Loons at Town Hall 10, because that's really the engine that pushes it, and maybe the Hounds at Town Hall 11 as just kind of a minor, not as big a buff up there,
Yeah, that makes sense too, yeah.
But
moving on, I guess Bowlers also had a housing space reduction to 6 from 8. So that should, they're continuing to push those bowlers. I've been using them. I'm one of the few out there, but I do see their drawbacks, mainly because I find utility in the bowlers. But my big thing is if you really sit down and think about it, you can always ask yourself the question, okay, sure, Ash, you can 3-star with bowlers, but wouldn't you get more bang for your buck just using Valkyries or adding extra wizards or healers or whatever you're doing? So
more hogs,
yeah, exactly, or back-end hogs or something. So sometimes you start with like a bowler walk, and you're like, why am I doing this again? I could just be starting with a queen walk, So
I only recently started using the bowlers when mine maxed out a couple weeks or 2 weeks ago, and I was really excited. I'd seen some of your videos and I wanted to try it out, and they're just so erratic, and it's so frustrating when one splits off and the healers go on that one, and it's just like you want to rip your hair out because it's frustrating.
I've been using Rage right off the bat, like even before I push the bowlers down on the map. And I think that the Rage helps them stay together because, well, it doesn't help them stay together, but it helps them regroup together after they've kind of merged off into separate directions, just because they're moving so fast and the healers tend to keep up with them. But still, you're right, the erratic nature, I mean, even after the Rage is over, they're still so unpredictable, so...
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the decreased troop capacity will help in their use, just even as a DPS troop, just having them throwing over walls and doing some damage has its benefits. But I wonder if it would have been better served to give, like I said, just a straight damage increase to guarantee that like that second structure goes down, as opposed to having to use more of the units. But how are a lot of people in your clan using those bowlers?
No.
Yeah.
I would say maybe like a handful of us in each of our clans. So when I do those bowler walk videos, I really have to travel all throughout our 8 clans to find people who are actually using them. So, we're having, we're seeing people who use them actually have success here and there. It's not like I'm only showing the good ones and there's a ton of fails. It's really just more of an issue of not a lot of people even using them at all, because you can get better bang for your buck through like Valkyries or something.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful that this will change, to turn things around at least. I'm kind of with you, where I didn't think the housing space was the way to go. I just wanted a higher, you wanted more damage, and I guess in a roundabout way, I wanted the same thing. I wanted their throw rate to increase, overall increasing their DPS, but even increasing damage would have done the same thing, I guess. So I don't know. We'll have to see if they're used more often now.
Yeah, but the troop capacity probably segues into one of the other points you're about to say, which is the spring traps, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that was my next thing. Yeah.
So, I guess you might as well say what the information on spring traps.
Yeah, so, now they have levels, spring traps, right? So, it's level 1 through 4, or rather 2 through 4 added. And the troop capacity, correct me if I'm wrong, because we just discussed this, it's 15, 16, 17...
18, I think, was the last one,
okay.
Yeah.
So it's 15, 16, 17, 18. That's the amount of troops that they're going to trigger with each additional time you, or the amount of unit space they're going to spring, I guess, for lack of a better verb. And so basically, to my mind, that's basically a little nerf to Valkyries. Yeah,
that's the biggest troop it affects, because Valks are 8, and so obviously 16 is the second multiple. So they were currently hidden from being sprung, 2 of them at once. So now obviously 2 of them could be sprung. So 16. So getting a level 2 spring trap, I think, is going to be a big deal. But the other thing my concern is, those guys are so fast. Girls rather. They are just, whipping around the base. I've seen Hogs before miss it just because they run over it and it doesn't actually engage. Do you think Valks are going to, when they're rage, they are like crazy fast. I wonder if they'll flip too, or if they'll just run right over it,
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. A lot of people like the Valkyries. It's weird. It's one of those catch-22s where a lot of people really like the fact that there's a troop out there that's so powerful that gives them a decent shot at, 3-starring a base. And then a lot of people feel like they're a little bit too powerful. So I think this might have been a pretty good fix. I think you suggested this back in the day, the whole spring trap thing.
Yeah, I think it's a good fix.
Yeah, and think about it. Like, it's been moved from from 15 troop capacity to 18, or is it 16 to 18?
15, because 15 is what kept the Valks safe.
It was, okay, so yeah, correct. So it was 15, now it's 18, so it's still going to bump the same amount of Hogs. It's still going to, every other troop, it's not going to have a huge impact on. It's just basically that 8 plus 8, now it's going to trigger 2 Valkyries versus 1, so.
Exactly. And then, maybe a couple Giants, if they're, being summoned by the ability of the King or something like that, might get thrown around too. But you're right, it's mainly a Valk nerf, or I guess a counteraction.
Absolutely. So, before we get into the village feature mode, or the friendly challenge mode, I don't know where my brain is today, but before we get into the friendly challenge, is there anything else that caught your eye? There's a bunch of stuff listed here on the forum post for the sneak peek. Edit tool mode, a bunch of new features added there. Donate fully trained troops and spells from the production queues. Drag troops and spells with a kind of a drag and drop. It feels kind of like an iPhone type thing.
Yeah,
and feel free to stop me and comment on it.
I like the donate fully cooked ones, just because a lot of times the army I make doesn't use golems, and so when people want them in war, I don't have them. But I might just queue up golems whenever I'm done cooking like an army, and I just don't want to attack right now. So then I could actually donate them without having to mess up my pre-cooked army, if you know what I'm saying. So I guess that's a minor thing, but it's cool. I don't see anything wrong with that. And the other one that's nice is you can now, I believe you can reorder troops, so you don't have to like you said, drag and drop. So when you have them queued up, you can kind of switch the order. So same thing. Those are kind of like minor little things, but they're definitely useful, and I'm sure people like them.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's small quality of life stuff, but I actually kind of like this stuff every update when they do these little quality of life changes, because it all adds up to, make the gaming experience a little bit better. So I'm a big fan. And then it has the, you can gem your troops and spells from the donation directly from the donation menu.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's people like me who gem donations. I'm going to have the fastest donation finger ever now. It's just, I'm going to be on the screen just waiting for people to request.
You know what else that helps, though, is people who just miss out. Like, let's say they they gemmed it, someone else did it in the meantime, and now they're stuck with like an extra troop.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it directly, you're not like sitting around with extra troops that you didn't want.
No, that's true too. It's, you know what, all these things save me gems, so I'm happy. But also the war logs for any clan can now be publicly viewed. That's it's a very minor change, but another one of those quality of life things that saves you from having to, go offline and find your favorite third-party website that tracks these recent wars.
Right, because you want to see how strong your opponent is and what to expect. I see what you're saying exactly. So that'll be useful. And then did they give information about the village edit mode, like how it's going to work, or is that still hidden?
Honestly, I don't know. It's awful because I've been playing the new update, the new content, but I'm not sure which is released on which day. So I got to be careful of what I say.
Okay.
So I'm not 100% sure, but it does look nice. Like everything, it feels like when you're moving around in the new game post-update, it feels like everything's just a bit smoother and easier and takes less time. So every single menu,
That's great.
And the last thing is the live spectator account. That's kind of like Clash Royale. It's the same thing if people play that, where you can tell during your friendly challenges how many of your clanmates are watching on. They're therefore adding the tension to the moment, or the anxiety.
Right.
And I think that might be added to war attacks as well. Don't quote me on that, but that would be pretty cool,
It is funny in war attacks when we have someone like streaming the end of a war and they can't get in. Yeah. So like the last, and it's like instant, like as soon as the battle comes up, like whatever, maybe 10. I don't even know how many people can hold. I'm guessing 10, maybe 5. I don't know.
I don't know either. I was guessing higher. I was going to say 10 or 20, but I don't know.
It fills up like instantly. Yeah. And so it'll be, I'm sure it'll be nice then when you can ask someone to leave and you can see how many people leave and if there's enough for the Twitch streaming guy to jump back in. But same thing, those are just kind of minor little things.
Yeah, and the last one is the chat stream has been revamped with a built-in request button. Now this one is pretty buggy. Not buggy, it bugs you out at first, man. The chat is basically upside down now.
Wait, what?
Yeah, right? It's like you chat at the bottom of chat and it scrolls the opposite way now.
Oh, that's going to take some getting used to.
Yeah, it's just different. I mean, it's when you think about it, it's how chat works in every other form of life, text messages or anything.
Yeah.
But in Clash of Clans, it's always been this way, where the most recent chat is at the top,
Yeah.
So it's just different. But other than that, it's it's just basically all revamped. They have the new request button. Everything looks new and shiny and confusing at first, but you do get used to it, like everything else.
Yeah. Cool.
So let's move on to the friendly challenge feature. You messaged me, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but
go for it.
You messaged me last night saying that if things stayed the way they were, you weren't sure how much longer you'd be playing the game, at least competitively.
Right.
Do you still feel the same way? And why don't you share a little bit behind why you feel that way?
So, as has been talked about by many a person at this point, the way it was first announced that the system would work, a lot of people instantly found ways that you could, whether it be in your own clan or in somebody else's clan, depending on what sort of, loopholes or workarounds people find, you could practice over and over again on a base. And so what that brought to my mind would be the amount of time it would take, not only for me, but it requires 2 people, right? It'd take one person to actually sit there and build the base and constantly feed it up to you. And then it'd obviously be assumed that you're doing the same thing for other people in your clan. So that would require not only whatever it takes, half an hour, 45 minutes to build a base, sometimes more if you mess up, maybe in the new village edit mode, it'd be faster, but I know before I've started off by one tile and I get to the end and there's no space for something and I have to scrap it all, and that's awful. But
yeah, that's the worst.
So, you'd have your base and then you'd have to keep pumping it up to someone over and over again to try. And if that was the expectation, was to go through all that time it would take to guarantee the 3-star, I don't think that I have that sort of, drive or time commitment to put forth, which other people do. And so that would mean that I wouldn't want to be in a high-end competitive clan, which then instantly says, do I really want to play if I know I'm not at the high end and I'm just quote-unquote a casual? So I usually try to play games near the high end, and if I know I'm not, that's usually when I step away and try, I'll do something else for a while. So that was kind of the genesis of this conversation, was that it would take a lot of time and effort, which isn't bad. I mean, I know people have done it before back when people were able to play the game in a different way. but B, I don't know if I could play the game knowing that I wasn't going all out, if you know what I'm saying.
No, I totally empathize with you, man. It's just like, I feel the same exact way. You know, I love being the most competitive I can possibly be in a game, but at the same time, I don't have, I have time that I'm more than willing to commit plenty of time to the game, just not what it would take to be, what it would take to be a trophy pusher right now, and that would be 16 hours a day, and that's something I don't have time for. So selfishly, I don't want the new system. I love the new system. I love friendly challenges. It's an awesome feature added to the game, especially for casual players and to spice things up in clan and clan chat and all that stuff. However, I just don't like the ramifications it has on the competitive war scene, which granted is a small minority of the overall population, but it's just a tough spot to be in. So I hope they address it. It'd be nice to find a happy medium somewhere.
The way I look at it, it's like a huge spectrum from people that just log in and click their bubbles to people that maybe farm once a day to people that farm 6-8 times a day to maybe some people that kind of sit around masters but don't really care that much. And then there's people who do wars, and there's people who take wars really serious, fair play. And then there's the people that spend 8 hours working on a base over and over again. And I put myself like the one tier below that. And so this one patch, I think that's the only small little circle that it hurts. I think it helps everyone else on the spectrum. They would love being able to mess around with their friends and try out the bases and do all that. And they don't care about if they don't get a 3-star in a war. It's not a big deal to them. It's just, for fun. So there's like a small niche of person. And unfortunately, I think that might be me, where this feature doesn't help. It just kind of creates a frustration. So I'm sure there are other people who feel that same way, but I understand why Supercell's doing it. It helps a lot of people and makes a lot of sense for them.
Yeah. You hear that, Supercell? Don't let Tait quit. Hashtag Tait. Please forget it. I'm not going to do the hashtag thing. But hashtag save Tait. There we go.
I mean, what do you feel? Do you have other people who have said similar things like that in your clan?
Yeah, I think that a lot of my viewers have chimed in, and my viewers seem to be about split. Half people like it, half the people don't like it for the same of the reasons you mentioned. And then a lot of people do like it, and I think that the casual players all seem to really be for it. And I do see all the good things that it will bring to the game. However, my clan mates, just me personally, YouTube aside, I'm pretty confident in saying that about 75 to 80% of them all strongly dislike it. So
yeah, I mean, I guess it's just could I reach, or could a clan that I'm in reach the mindset where it wasn't expected for you to put in that amount of time? Because it could be a lot of time for not only you, but for helping other people too. I mean, it would be a big time commitment, I feel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I proposed my solution, and everybody has their own ideas in my video last night. But, I just think a little tweak with a cooldown on bases, I think that would be enough to fix it for everybody, hopefully, but we'll have to see what they do. I know for a fact, because we've been in communication with them, every day, so I know for a fact that they do care, and they are, they're looking into possibly, adding one of these solutions, but certainly nothing, is set in stone at all, and maybe nothing at all. Maybe we'll have to live in this new world. I don't know, but they're hearing us at least, and that's important.
Yeah, I got to give Supercell a lot of props. They have been way more open in their communication about not only what they're doing, why they're doing it, and sometimes what their overall plan is. So I'll credit them in that.
Yeah. You know what? Like you can certainly put a lot of criticism on Supercell at times, but I can say that they do care. The people there, and I listened to Jake's video last night, and he said that he was ill because he was so worried about this, and he was so, he couldn't even sleep at night. He didn't feel good just because he was worried about how this would affect his clan in One Hive and you guys, and clans like mine too. And I can tell you that some of the people I talk to at Supercell think the same way, not about this feature, but they worry about the community, and they want to make sure they please everybody, and they really, just as passionately, even though they're not as vocal, obviously, they do care deeply. It's just one of those things that, and it's one of those things I have to remind myself too, is that we play this game as the vast minority, albeit the most important minority in my opinion, because we are the most hardcore about their game, and you want to keep your hardcore base happy. But at the same time, most people just play this very casually, this game,
Yep, exactly. I mean, it's I always harken back to my World of Warcraft days whenever they got rid of the hardcore 40-mans and, brought them down to smaller and smaller just
Yeah,
to get more and
boo.
more, just to get more people involved, and,
Yeah.
maybe that's what this is.
Yeah, I'm right there with you too, though. Like I like the 40 mans,
Yep.
But yeah, well, do you have a favorite solution before I let you go, or is it kind of?
That's a good question. I personally, I like the 24-hour cooldown idea. I think that'll do it I mean, that puts the onus on people to switch their bases at the end unless they hid your war bases. Other than that, it's really tricky. There's I do think the 24-hour way is probably the best way to get around it, but
Yeah.
that'd be the one I'd go with.
Yeah, me too. I think it's pretty simple. Like 24-hour cooldown before you are able to friendly battle with a base, and when you scout your opponent on prep day, it just takes you to their actual village rather than their war base. So you can still tell, how many Eagle Artilleries you're down, how many Inferno Towers you're up, whatever.
Yeah.
You can still get a realistic picture of how powerful they are, and you just can't see their war base, so you can't sandbox it, and then that makes the 24-hour battle day protected from that feature, and everybody's happy, I think,
You know what they could do, though? I was about to say they could... So some people like to plan based on looking at the base ahead of time and then go immediately when war starts. They could make the war prep day like 16 hours and make war 30 hours. Just, you know what I mean? Like make the actual war time a little bit longer to compensate, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, they could I could totally see that working as well, but my gut tells me that would involve too many.
Oh yeah.
Changing of everything else, and they like things to be super easy to understand for the masses.
Yeah.
So it might be, right now it's pretty easy, 23 hours, 24 hours, and
Yep.
It might be, especially with the different time zones, it might be more difficult, but who knows? I mean, it definitely could work. So.
Yep.
Well, Tait, I'm gonna let you go, man. I know you're sick right now, so thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I hope you feel better.
Thanks, Ash. Thanks for having me on. It's always good to talk with you.
No problem. Take care, man.
Yeah.